Okay, thanks. Well, how are you all? And welcome back to Culinary Life. Well, we are with a very talented laddie from up at the, whereabouts you're on the Sunshine Coast, aren't you?
No. I'm in Lennox Head.
Lennox Head.
Which is northern New South Wales, just 16 k's south of Byron Bay.
I'm all over the joint anyway, so but I'd like to welcome Christine Reid. And how have you been, Christine?
Oh, fine. Excellent. Thank you very much, Graeme. Yeah, thriving.
Well, I can see by your website that you have gone ahead in leaps and bounds with what you're doing. So do you want to fill us in on where have you been in the last X amount of years?
Well, when I did my show with you, that was in December 2019, and we filmed here in my studio. And that, as you would remember, was kind of the last ditch effort before we had huge bushfires and then we had pandemic. And so everything changed from there. So I'm very grateful that we filmed prior to all of that happening, because that gave me a bit of a profile, I guess, and a taste for doing a bit of videoing. And so since then, during the pandemic, I did Zoom calls with various students. So I developed that skill. And since then, I decided to create an online art school, which I call Art, the Universe and Everything with Christine. And so that was launched last July. And we have a couple of courses on that. Well, actually 4, I think. So we've got Art Basics, which is drawing, painting and colour. And I just launched one on the fascination and inspiration of art history, because I love art history.
Oh, fantastic. Yep. Very, very well done. So in the process, I must admit that it's sort of like a bit of a revelation. The curtain comes up, because all of a sudden you realise I've got to be online and I've got to be doing video if I expect anybody to see me. So how did this all come together then? And how are your video skills compared to when we met you anyway?
Well, yeah, they've come a long way. So I was already, as you might remember from the previous show we did, I'm part of the Lennox Arts Collective in Lennox Head. So there's a group of us. And one of the members, I asked her if she would come and be my assistant in helping me put together videos. So we now meet here in my studio once a week, and we do a whole lot of planning. But we've taught ourselves the videoing process with some little hiccups along the way, of course. We've been very lucky to have been given some lighting and some other tools to help us along the way. And so some of our stuff is on YouTube. So the YouTube channel of my one, which is Christine Reid Art, has developed somewhat. And we've put together the videos as part of the online school. So it's not all video. There's written information, there are exercises for people to do, and there are video demonstrations. So just as an example, we in the art history program, we decided we'd try and make this really interesting for people. So in the medieval times, painters used to use egg tempera paint. So we found out how to make egg tempera paint, and we created our own medieval icon using egg tempera paint and gold leaf.
That's fantastic. Well done.
So we've had fun doing that. We've learned how to do time lapse. We've learned about continuity. One of the things that you may or may not remember from when I did my video with you, I don't know what I did, but the very first bit of filming, I blew it, and that had to be scrapped.
Yeah.
So my very first bit was scrapped, and we had to redo it again. So we've learned all about getting it right first time if you can, and having to do it again, and so on. So,
well, I think as Elon Musk says, he says it's okay to fail.
Yeah, and you know what? We've left some of those bloopers in, like when the phone goes or something like that, or I've learned to do quite a bit of editing, but yeah, we've left some of the bloopers in because we feel that makes it a bit more natural.
Oh, fair enough. That's fantastic. So how do you think that your business has developed through all of this? I mean, it's really gone from a place 2 years ago to literally a whole new genre.
Yeah, well, look, I'd say that my attitude is to take an opportunity where you find it. And because of the, I guess, the exposure and more people, I've learned a lot about Instagram, for instance, and more people joining on Instagram and then looking at what they do. So another aspect of my business has now become art licensing. So I found that out through somebody that I've met on Instagram. And so I now work with Art Shine licensing, and I have a range of merchandise. I have tea towels and beach towels and bags and backpacks and all sorts of things that we sell with my artwork on.
So obviously you're diversifying, which is extremely important to do if you expect to make a living out of art, of course.
Yes.
But do they produce those, or do you produce them yourselves, or what's the story?
They produce that company, which I find to be very good and very ethical. They go to gift fairs and promote my work, and they have a portfolio of possible products. But I have some of these products in my gallery down in Lennox Head to sell. But most of them they sell online, and they produce them, and they produce them in an ethical way. So, for instance, there's a shopping bag that's produced from recycled plastic bottles, which doesn't feel plasticky. It's quite nice, and the tea towels are on organic cotton, and they produce those, and they produce them in a timely manner so that they haven't got a warehouse full of gear. Have to, if it doesn't sell, has to go to landfill. So they only produce what's needed. So I'm happy to work with them. They're really good.
And are they an Australian company?
Yes. The principal is, I think he's originally Vietnamese, but he's got an Australian partner. So yes, they're located in Sydney. Okay,
because I've been involved in licensing for about 30 years. But most of my agents are in LA, New York and London. So I sort of left the shores of Australia because my work is not sort of solely Australian.
No.
That's the thing about licensing. It's sort of like, where do you fit into the mix of all of that to be successful at it as well? So what's the future hold for you? What do you want to do?
Well, I want to keep developing these diversification elements. I definitely want to develop the online art school because that's something I'm really quite passionate about. And there'll be different aspects to it. So I want to develop something called art challenges, where I take people out to do plein air painting and maybe life drawing, etc. So there'll be some different things. And I'm very much aware that a lot of people are sort of stuck at home a bit, certainly during this time. And so I've had feedback from my students saying it's wonderful because I can do a bit and then leave it and then come back to it and I can review it. And I'm very happy to get feedback and put in different things. So what I want is to create a community of people who are interested in art. One of the things I used to do before pandemic was take people on trips to France and England with an art focus. So we would go to museums and we would paint, and I would hire a place in a nice part of France, for instance, like Provence or the Loire Valley, and we would live there for a week and explore the culture. So I can't do that at the moment, but I can still take people on those kind of virtual trips.
Well, we're getting very close. How far we are away, I really don't know. It's sort of like they give you a carrot and then they pull it away again and they give you a carrot. But it's been frustrating to say the least under any circumstances. But look, it was fabulous to talk to you today, Christine. It's a pleasure to catch up with, and I think that you're doing a fantastic job. And It really, the world did change in the last 2 years, and I think it really did head towards the creatives a lot more than it did in the past, and that's to our advantage in the end. And I think to everybody's advantage is the fact that we can access the world now with our abilities and make people's lives better, fairly.
I think that's true. I've found it a challenge, but also, so, as you say, quite positive in many ways.
I'm a what do I call myself? I'm a pessimist with an optimistic view. But thank you so much for your time today. It was an absolute pleasure, and hopefully we can catch up soon anyway, and say hi and go from there.
Thank you, Graeme. Lovely to talk to you.
Thank you, Christine.